and it's true. And that's what Spike Island, that Stone Roses gig, absolutely cements. And Tony going to CMJ in America and, you know, just basically causing almost a riot, just pissing in everyone's face. He's just like, the only places in America that have a fucking clue are like these 5 clubs in New York and Chicago. You guys are dead. And we were, you know, which doesn't invalidate everything that had been going on. But like I said, I actually got some pulls on this one. So, but it's, I mean, it's just, there's so much iconic Manchester. I mean, this is 88. This is the original Road for Luck. This year, 89 is the WFL 12. Which is cool because it like is brighter but it has like exactly the same label. The WFL remix, you know, Weatherall's passed on. This is really, you know, a rough thing for everybody. We're losing all these people. We lost Tony a long time ago, you know. But Factory and oddly Silvertone, it's really this Rose's manager that makes this whole thing happen. He's this completely fucked up guy. Like he really had serious like OCD borderline spectrum issues. He would show up at Peter Hook's house and like, because Peter Hook remixed Elephant Stone, the bassist from New Order, and he made this mega drum mix, right? And then he showed up at his house with like a bag with like 10,000 pounds in it and just was like, thanks, and ran away. Like, and he did the most crazy shit. And the craziest thing he did is he signed a 10-album deal for the Stone Roses. 10-album deal. It's worse than the Clash. It's the worst album contract ever signed by anybody. And so he put them in the position where they got absolutely screwed for the rest of their career. And that means every compilation, like, I can't even tell you how much Stone Roses stuff, like everything they've ever done has probably been released 5 or 6 times. It's just stupid as anything. And it's silly. So they had started out really strong with Sally Cinnamon. You know, this wasn't on label, but then, you know, they drummed up over the course of getting away from, because early on, if you get this bootleg Garage Flower, they were like a terrible goth band, like just totally cheesy pastels, like C86, all this crap. Like C86 is over, like, and everyone's pissed. Like they're sick of the House of Love. They're sick of fucking, you know, the Weather Prophets and all this bullshit that's been going on with these jangly guitar bands because they suck. And it's funny, if you watch my shoegaze videos, I'm not going to get into shoegaze because I did 3 videos on it 7 or 8 years ago. If you watch those, I have a clip, which is now probably pretty hard to find, of him getting interviewed, Guy Chadwick, saying that he hated C86 and he thought all those bands suck and he wanted to rock because he saw the Valentines and the Mary Chain, right? But yet his band was just as naff and nebbish and C86 as anything. I mean, they were Jesus and Mary Chain ripoff when they started with Christine, which is just You Trip Me Up rewritten. Then they did like really bad mannered kind of like, you know, Sunday shit, like the Beatles and the Stones. And then he did like a bad dance pop song, which sounded like the freaking, was the Beloved. Who was it that did one of those? There were just so many bad, like dance pop, pseudo baggy things coming out. It was so big. Like The Cure did a baggy song on Never Enough. The B-side on Never Enough is this song called Harold and Joe. And it's fucking awesome. It's a really good song. It's like really enduring, really amazing. Still to this day, sounds super fresh. Like Roger O'Donnell's keyboard work and stuff, the pads he chose, it's fucking awesome. But it's a baggy song, and it's a reaction to the fact that Robert Smith had been taking shitloads of acid for like 4 years. Ever since Kiss Me, he was just like on this mad acid binge, which was a throwback to all the drugs and acid he'd been doing in '83 with Steve Severin. So the Cure get the Brit. Roger Daltrey they win the Brit in '90. Roger Daltrey gives this famous speech where he's like, you know, when I came up here, I was dreading that I would have to give this award to a synthesizer and a drum machine, which is a veiled shot at Depeche Mode, whose Violator was easily one of the biggest albums of 1990. And obviously Depeche Mode has always been a signature synth band. I mean, they go back to Vince Clarke and that's their legacy, right? But this is a masterpiece. This is just literally a masterpiece of pop music. And it probably deserved, my mic is clipping. Shit, not this again. Well, if it really fucks up, I'm going to just dump it because it's too hot to deal with it. I don't know. Is it any better now? Anyway, yeah, I just can't get enough. And it came out of Yaz, which in America they had to be called Yazoo. And then Depeche Mode, and, you know, he did Erasure, and it's this whole thing. Better a Bit, it's fine. Sounds fine for me. Yes, it is. Whatever. So yeah, this is just an incredible fucking record. And Roger Daltrey was really taking a shot at them and at maybe George Michael and whoever else, and maybe even our girl. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite songs of all time. Like, oh my God, Miss You Much is so good. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into the shoegaze stuff because obviously shoegaze is blowing the fuck up. This is when Ride releases Smile, which is funny too, because I didn't think of this when I was talking about it. But on the inside of Smile, and obviously it's bigger on the vinyl, there's this image. This came out in 1990. It's half of Nowhere, basically. There's this image. Huh. That's funny. My Bloody Valentine's Glider, Ride's Play. There's some really cute, weird symmetries to what went on with all the shoegaze bands like that. But as I said, I did 3 whole videos on shoegaze, so if you give a shit about that, go look. I didn't show all my MBV rarities in those videos, though. And I even have, because of this girl I was dating at the time, I have like one of the Supremo mega rarities that like nobody has, which is this French EP, which was a teaser, and it has Sugar on it on CD. This goes for ridiculous fucking money now. I can't even imagine. It's so stupid. And of course, Ecstasy and Wine is even going for a bunch of money. This is a fucking bootleg. Like, what? Are you shitting me? But yeah, this goes for stupid money now. I don't even know what the fuck's going on out there. And COVID's not helping. People are really struggling. And I'm not being facetious. Like, it's not helping. I'm seeing shit for sale online that's just like, that's somebody's collection. And I don't want to do that. So there's a lot of vultures out there. It's happening with cars. It's happening with records, whatever, you name it. Like, people are frying their collections because they're running out of money. And this isn't even close. Like, wait till we get into October, November. When we get through this election, like, you have no idea. The job losses that are being hidden by the money that's been printed, don't need to go down that road, but I've done it before. But anyway, yeah, somebody else mentioned this is one of the most important albums of this year or any year. This album's perfect. It was so important to me. Like, this, Violator, obviously The Cure were huge at this point, but like, I do not want what I haven't got. Jesus Christ, this record is such an incredible, like, you think about how young she was, how much crazy press she was dealing with, like the furor around Sinead O'Connor. And it's just nuts. The songwriting of this is like somebody who is, it's just impossible to understand how she could occupy all the headspace she gets in here, the maturity, like as a woman, someone coming out of a breakup of a relationship. I mean, yeah, obviously Prince has written one of these, the signature song, Nothing Compares to You, that's on this, and she did not have a good experience with him, which that story has shifted over time. I think in the original era when she was, maybe voicing that didn't go down great, she was cautioned and told to put it in kind of like more vanilla terms because Prince is this huge fucking star, right? I don't know. But now, of course, she's come out and it's the dirtiest story imaginable, and fucking, Prince hit me or threw a shoe at me or spit on me. Like, now it's just, because that's what we do now, right? Amber Heard shit in Johnny Depp's bed. What the fuck is going on? Things are getting so fucking stupid out there. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm not doing this and I'm not online anymore. I just don't fucking care. I don't have time for any of this. If you do, I'm sorry. I feel sorry for you. Like, it sucks, and people could go and say like, oh, well, I'm a product of white privilege. Okay, maybe I am, but I'm where I am and I just don't need any of this noise. I just really don't. And I don't apologize for anything because I busted my fucking ass in my life and that's all I'm capable of doing. Anyway, it's horrible. I'm doing this fine. It's fun. I want to talk about 1990. And a lot of you guys have emailed me and said like, hey man, I'm really sorry about all the shit that went up, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get it. That's fine. It's not really about any of that. It's just about like where I'm at in my life. And it's kind of over for me. But at the same time, the reason I'm doing this and, I've been willing to do it is a lot of you have emailed me like, dude, I miss having these to watch, like to hear about music and shit. And so, fine, I can do that. There's no real concern for me doing that. So if the mic starts getting really shitty again, let me know. So as I said, you've got like mainstream major label artists, Depeche Mode, The Cure, Sinead, new bands like the Sundays who are supposed to be the next Smiths. There's 150 next Smiths. The Laws come out this year. A fucking flawless album. There's so many next Smiths. I was going to do a video in 2013 when I did the last of the original DSLR videos where I talked about like the dozen bands that were supposed to be the next Smiths. It was silly. I mean, Trash Can Sinatra's, what was that? There was even a band here in America well, there was the Ocean Blue in Pennsylvania, but there was a band, I think, in North Carolina. God damn, I'm blanking on their name. And they had a bunch of hits. You know, come on. They had that hit 74, 75 in Europe. Who the hell am I thinking of? Stone Cold Yesterday. God damn. Anyway, it's all these kind of like mid-tempo-y Smiths, REM bands. Yeah, The Laws is on my best albums piece that I had written in Pitchfork years and years ago. In like 2002, I wrote this piece that ended up becoming kind of a big deal. The Connells, thank you. Kind of a big deal in the sense of like no one had written the idea. So it was the first place anyone had done the idea of a most common used CDs list. And The Laws was like top 10. The Sunday's second album, Blind, was in there. Number 1 was REM's Monster. New Order's Regret was in there. Massively overpressed. But yeah, so the other thing, just real quick, that's crazy about 1990 that a lot of people are not going to know or remember is how much shit got reissued. 1990 is when reissue culture started, and it really went nuts. Like nobody had heard or could find Nick Drake records, and Island reissued them. And so, you know, this was a huge deal. Like I got Pink Moon on CD because Island put it back in circulation. Now this is the Ryko disc box set. These aren't the editions, but you know, when I'm a kid and I'm like, Robert Smith is God, which by the way, you have to get this. Go on Discogs. This should be like $5. Like this should be not expensive. If you don't get the original Entreat, you only get this butchered remix that Robert Smith did on the deluxe edition of Disintegration, and it's fucking terrible. It's totally a dead soundboard with nothing on it. This has some post-production, which it should. What he put on Disintegration sounds like shit. This is fucking amazing. It's Boris Williams at his peak, the best, you know, period of The Cure. So yeah, if you can get that, grab it. Car Commercial was a Volkswagen commercial in the early 2000s. Yeah. Amanda Petrusik wrote a book on Pink Moon for 33 1/3, the same series as me. We were both writers at Pitchfork, and we're still in touch. But she talks about that. That was crazy. VW got in a lot of fucking trouble over that. How's the mic, gents? Is the mic still okay? He doesn't have any ears. He doesn't have ears. He's a great songwriter, but he doesn't have any ears. That's why he sucks at remixing. Is the mic still okay or better or fine? What do we go to? So yeah, we've been through the Hacienda, Summer of Love. And the Hacienda is now mainstream. Everyone's raving. They're raving at their ass. They're going to Blackpool. There's 50,000 people going to raves. And Spike Island, which is obviously not rave, it's a Stone Roses gig. Spike Island is absolutely fucking mental. Is John Savage, the, you know, hugely famous English author, music author. He goes, he said in that Live Forever documentary, he's just like, I've never seen so many kids taking so many drugs. Like it was just fucking mental. And Spike Island, you know, and Noel Gallagher is quoted in that movie, basically reciting the whole movie Live Forever at this point. But it is the foundation of Britpop, much the same way that Morrissey's. Oh yeah. Morrissey 89 to 94. Oh baby, come on. I mean, this is literally perfect. It's a singles collection, so of course it's gonna be perfect. But this is a huge influence. I mean, fucking Park Life, this is all fucking, you know, because Balfie's in there and it's, you know, he's clocking more. Anyway. Yeah, so all right, before we dig totally in. Oh, and also they start doing this shit. Home videos. What is this? Nobody's ever a music home video, like, and it's from Blockbuster. Check it. I actually bought this used at Blockbuster. Yeah, this is 1990, and it's got like it's the 7 videos to that point, and then it has like live shit of people just running up on stage and passing out and kissing him and stuff. Yeah, Morrissey Pod Redux. Well, that pod doesn't sound. I recorded that pod where I'm sitting before I had a lav mic, and so the audio is completely fucked up because it's like a targeted condenser mic, and you can't use those outside. But it's things you learn, whatever. So, you know, Britpop's not there. By this point, Blur is Seymour, and they're coming together, and they're going to do their cheesy dance pop baggy song, There's No Other Way, which Kurt Cobain said was his favorite English song of 1991. Not a lot of people know that. I know that because I have the Blur box set, but I'll get into that later. That doesn't come cheap either these days. Oh, yeah. The other thing, too, is Stone Roses were so bad. It's not just that they had this shitty record contract, a 10 record contract. They were putting single after single after single after B-side after B-side, just stuff in the channel with so much shit. And a lot of that ends up getting compiled on an album called Turns Into Stone, which is also probably cheap as chips these days. I don't know where it is. I thought I pulled that. But anyway, yeah, Turns into Stone is that comp, and it's so good. It's all the mellow stoner shit, ambient guitar work John Squire was doing. God, it's so good. I spent so many fucking days like fucking hungover, mowing lawns, like morning dew, fucking just blaring, a couple of cigarettes before the job, blaring Turns into Stone and all those mellow chill out. It just reminds me of being a teenager, like the first time I got fucked up. But I mentioned The Cure doing a dance pop song. I want to mention this. This is one of my favorite records. It's super fucking weird. It's not going to hit with a lot of people. This is the Mekon's Fun 90 EP. Now, this is how big Baggy and dance stuff was. They did a dance version of the classic, oral history fairy tale sort of, I don't know, you call it a limerick or whatever, Sheffield Park. And it's so fucking funny and good. It's got that My Bloody Valentine guitar and this hilarious dance pop. And they're singing like a traditional 1300s, whatever, like folk tale over it. It's great. They didn't end here, though. There's also, 2 years later, they did this single, Wicked Midnight. Oh, man, that song is so good. It's got like I think it's a James Brown, not funky drummer, but it's some kind of backbeat, and I fell in love. Oh God, it's so good. Yeah, get Wicked Midnight, Mekon's. That's so good. I gotta put these records back or they're gonna fucking melt. So yeah, I talked about the reissues, right? Nick Drake, whatever. The Bowie reissue. This is a huge fucking deal. This is 1990. They reissue Changes as a 2LP. It's also Aqua. It's not clear. It's Aqua. They reissue Changes Bowie, which, it's not like Bowie ever goes away. But this, this object as like the signature compilation / greatest hits. If you've seen the movie Christian F., it's essentially like a love letter to, heroin abuse in Berlin, but also David Bowie and how important, this guy was. And this is the deluxe remastered, repackaged, with Fame 90, double Aqua vinyl of that set. And it was just a huge deal. There was the Sound and Vision set, which I also have, which has the 24 karat gold pressings on CD. Fuck, so stupid. Of like Low and everything. So that's killer. And I should mention too, the whole like Wild Bunch, the Bristol sound and everything. There was you have like Soul to Soul is getting there. They're not, I'm not sure if Back to Life is already out or if that's next year and Keep on Moving. But you also had this huge, huge hit out of nowhere, which was Dub Be Good to Me. This is Gorillaz. This song is literally all Gorillaz ever did was just rip off this song. This was huge, just absolutely huge in England. This is Jam Hot is still a joke you'll hear. And it was the beginning of Go Beat. This is where, Portishead, all the money from that is from this. And this is the remixes with the acapella too. This song is just unstoppable. If you haven't come across it, I've lived with it ever since it was big when I heard it. Cause again, I had this friend that was over from England and had all these mixes and stuff. But yeah, that is some stellar stuff. In contrast maybe to I've Been Thinking About You by London Beat. I've been thinking about you. This is such a good jam though. I'll never get rid of this. I love I've Been Thinking About You. It's one of the best like Euro house, whatever dance things like ever. But you got to have, and I was talking about how the Roses put out a million versions of everything. Yeah, let's not suggest that. There it is. Yeah, this is Wicked Midnight. That's the one you want to get. Mekon's Wicked Midnight. Track that down. It shouldn't be 5 cents. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, so the original pre-lawsuit, cover. You got all the American Candy labels. You got to have that. Also, got to have my original cassette of it, which is in different order. Bizarrely, if you look at these, there's like 50 different variations of the cover in terms of how they were cut and how they were layered. It's super weird. And you can lose a lot of fucking money if you want, trying to track down the different iterations of the pre-lawsuit Pills, Thrills, and Bellyaches. It's so weird. But yeah, they had a million fucking things come out. This came out in like 50 different editions. This is the American Electra Maxi single. 7 tracks. It has all of it. The WFL remix, everything. It's got all that shit. The American re-release. And it fucking cost 12 cents, right? But it's the original, obviously, and I have the Made in the UK sticker of Pride. This is the original Ray Vaughan EP. This is where it started. And it's, you know, it's the original Hallelujah, and it's Rave On, and it's Holy Ghost. And, you know, these aren't the ones that captured the popular attention. The popular attention is the remixes. It's Primal Screams Loaded, which I don't, you know, that we're not going to get all this, but Manchester is a lot of different things. It's not just the Roses. It's not just the Mondays. It's everything. It's North Side comes out. Like, it's so bad. It's Chocolate Industries, the guys who designed those Happy Mondays records. It's all these people coming up off the streets, mostly out of Manchester, which is just the fucking weirdest thing. Why is so much of music history tied back to Manchester or Liverpool? I guess you could say too. I mean, not that they would ever want to hear them compared or you know, like-minded, but like, you know, Echo and the Bunnymen and all that shit. Oh yeah, here it is. This was the one I was talking about, Turns into Stone. So this is the one, man. You could blow some serious fucking balls to this. It is so choice. You want it. It's all the backwards songs. So like they were so like, it's so fucking stupid. They were so incentivized to put out like more and more singles that they would just play their songs backwards and then play over them while they were playing backwards forwards. So there's like Going Down and what's it? Where Angels Play, Simone, Something's Burnt. Like 4 of the songs on this are songs from the first Stone Roses album played backwards with them playing guitar forward. Standing Here, yeah, that's an Oasis song. Like Standing Here is a template for Oasis, 100%. Liam Gallagher's whole fucking deal is completely Ian Brown. I mean, we know that. And yeah, the Standing Here is one of my favorites. It's got such a cool like exactly like this is Standing Here. Like you're at the fucking, you know, you're in the chill out tent, which is, you know, we're not going to get into the whole KLF chill out bullshit because What Time Is Love has happened. And then, you know, we've already talked about how acid and dance culture and shit were blown up. Probably not enough. I could have talked about that more. You know, whatever. But it's, again, it's this division. There's so much going on across so many different genres, and they're all being serviced and fed and watered by major labels. It's just weird. And my generation is just so spoiled for having lived through it. And I've said it a million times. It's not a halcyon memory. It's a fact. Like there's data to back it up. We still talk about all of these records today. Like it's fucking ridiculous. And it's funny that while this is all going on, like I said, it's still Paula Abdul, Forever Your Girl, which Straight Up is a seriously good cut. I love Straight Up. But yeah, the other stuff like Opposites Attract is so fucking bad. And it's not just because of the rapping cartoon wolf in the video, which was like literally supposed to be a brand launch for a cartoon Who Framed Roger Rabbit rap character, MC Scat Cat. Yeah, MC Scat Cat. That was like a failed brand launch. He was going to have like an album as a fucking cartoon rap wolf. Cartoon rap wolf. And it just was nuts. So, you know, but seriously, Phil Collins and all of this fucking, oh my God, Billy Joel Stormfront. I can't get away from Billy Joel. There was just he just got social media shit because he played a shitty piano on the street in fucking, in Long Island. He's back again. More Billy Joel. Stormfront. I Go to Extremes. I talked about it in the last video, and it's just like that he just kept coming back, and Stormfront was just sold fuckloads of records, man. Whole First Side, Downeaster, Alexa, all this fucking bullshit. Sold like fucking truckloads, man. Billy Joel made so much, and it didn't even stop. He had two other huge albums in the early 90s. The guy's audience is like fucking bulletproof, dude. The Violator was huge. Like I was saying, Violator, Sinead O'Connor, this stuff charts big. Like teenage kids in America and college kids fucking loved Violator. Enjoy the Silence. Personal Jesus is one of the best fucking songs of all time. Like that song is so good that Kanye ripped it off. What does that not tell you about the endurance of Personal Jesus? Like that's one of those ones where I'm like, doesn't go any louder. Like I can't not turn that all the way up. That thing, and it's one of those songs too that like bleeds. Like you turn it up louder, some other shit starts coming through clear. Like it's just such a great production and such a great song. But you know, Enjoy the Silence really was the big crossover, massive hit. You know, not to be, you know, talking in gender terms, but there were considered gender audiences at that time. You know, same way there has been the whole history of pop, teen beat, all this shit, teeny pop-ups, you know, teeny pin-ups and shit. You know, Violator had a softer, more emotional edge than something even like Jesus Jones, which is the most anodyne, harmless shit ever. Liquidizer. Like, I mean, yeah, Doubt is the big one, but like Liquidizer on the underground, that's sold fucking units. I talked about that in another video. But yeah, Do Not Want What I Haven't Got immediately here. We're in April 1990, #1 album in America. There is no overstating how huge Nothing Compares to You was. People would sit in front of their TV waiting for that song to come on just to hear it. It's the greatest, it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest breakup ballads. Like, I put it up there with the Everly Brothers. I put it up there with, the Righteous Brothers, excuse me, not you. I put it up there with the Righteous Brothers. I put it up there with all of the most famous, Then He Kissed Me, the Crystals, whatever. Like, Nothing Compares to You just, I think they were playing it at least once an hour. Like, there was a clock that was, it's Nothing Compares to You time. That happened with a few songs. It happened with Nirvana in January of 92. I talked about that in the Nirvana video I shot ages ago. When the In Bloom video, which I fucking hated, that song came out. Alana Miles was an interesting one. Black Velvet. Oh my God, I can't believe I remember the fucking jam of that. Alana Miles was like a Bonnie Raitt type, one of those female singers, came out with this like country shit kicker, big boots, jeans. She was really pretty. Raven kind of black curly hair, and Black Velvet, Canada's Pride, baby. That song was a big crossover hit. Was Jane Child Canadian too? Because I think we talked about that in '88. And she was another one where it was like out of nowhere. Jane Child was Canadian too. Fucking what's up? Give it up for the North. And we're dealing with this is sort of the fade of hair metal. It's already like people think Nirvana killed hair metal. They didn't kill hair metal. MTV was just insistent on promoting hair metal. They didn't have another option because you could see the numbers, and MTV is tied to what FM radio is doing. They have to have their own. There's no space carved out except for the specialty shows, like 120 minutes and whatever. But yeah, Fear of a Black Planet. This is one of the funniest charts ever. Fear of a Black Planet, Public Enemy, and Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em by MC Hammer. Like, obviously everyone knows that MC Hammer did not come from, outside wealth or anything. It's just the way he was marketed, and he fell into a marketing trap, and that's why he gets mocked and Vanilla Ice gets mocked, because he didn't come from a fucking great background necessarily either. But their marketing was so corny as shit, and they bought into all this marketing, and MC Hammer gets up on stage on the MTV Awards and takes a sip out of a Pepsi. And it was so gross. People were just like, oh man, it totally just crossed the line. And then he did Cool as Ice. Vanilla Ice did Cool as Ice. You guys are still doing Movie Week? Awesome. Did you do Lost Boys? I let my daughter watch that. It's fucking awesome. You miss, sucker. Only once, pal. Dig tonight? Cool. Dig's awesome. I can't watch Dig. If I watch Dig, the documentary about the Brian Jonestown Massacre, if I watch Dig or Live Forever, there's like 3 music documentaries that if I watch them, I drink way too much. So I'm not going to start watching them again until I'm older and I've like quit drinking, because it's a bad trigger. Like if I watch Dig, I'm going to like crush a 12 pack. It's terrible. And I'm not doing that anymore. So step by step, ooh, baby, gonna get to you, girl. New Kids on the Block, Step by Step. Oh boy, that song was big. Step 1. Wilson Phillips, Hold On, Poison, Belle Biv DeVoe. The orc hits are still ruling. And Janet was the queen of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis were the queen of the orchestra hit. But man, Poison took that up a notch, no doubt. Belle Biv DeVoe. That album was huge. BBD, ABC, the East Coast family, big time for them. What was the other thing I was just going to talk about? Yeah, it's just MC Hammer, NKOTB, Wilson Phillips, Mariah Carey. This is when Mariah Carey totally blows. It's the same as Whitney Houston. When she started, it's this whole thing of marketing her as a female singer, conservative females. It's almost like they're looking for the Amy Grant audience, the way they handled Whitney originally and Mariah Carey. It's this like, demure thing. They got to stick. It's just 100% sexism. They don't want to sexualize either of them. And I don't think Whitney Houston wanted to be sexualized. And I think she just wanted to establish her own identity, which she does in the famous photograph we talked about. I Want to Dance with Somebody. That's the Breakout Breaks Free. What Well, that's the whole point of Dig. Dig is embarrassing for everyone who's in it because they're all on coke talking about how famous they are. Like Courtney is just, are you kidding me? It's so fucking funny. They're talking about themselves like they're the most famous people in the world because they played like 2 festivals in England. Like, you got in a phone commercial, buddy. You know, take it down. I mean, he knows. He was a male model. What the fuck? The guy's a male model. Like, he wasn't a great singer. He was so insecure, it's not even funny. Like, you don't know how much bootlicking he was doing with all the real English celebrities and musicians and shit at those festivals. He was such a wannabe. And then what's her name? Poor girl. Oh my God, the woman. I mean, excuse me. She may take full ownership over having posed nude while pregnant. Maybe that she feels great about having done that. It's not for me to judge. And then here you go. So this is where Poison tries to get a little more raw, flesh and blood. Yeah. Jonah Hill said Dig was his favorite time. Yeah, there you go. Of course he did, because it's real. And Jonah Hill's like desperate to relive real things that he didn't do when he was younger. That's why he made mid-90s, because he didn't do any of that in the 90s. You know, I'm not saying I did, but I did sometimes, enough that I don't, like, I can tell you factually, just watch Kids. It's real. Just watch the movie Kids. It's 100% fucking real. That's what New York, Washington Square Park was like in the mid-90s. I was there. It's fucking real. My friends were at NYU from 92 to 97, 96. Like, yeah, that movie it was filmed during that time. And all those kids, like the skate community, you know who those kids are. Unfortunately, a bunch of them are dead. But it's one of the most important movies, like, fucking ever. It's so important. And this is a total aside. I watched Dr. Sleep last night, this fucking horrible book Stephen King decided to write to make a sequel of The Shining. This movie should be banned. It has got literally child torture porn in it. It's the grossest fucking thing I've ever seen in one of the dumbest, most insubstantial pieces of shit movies ever made. I'm still fucking upset about this. Like, it's grossing me the fuck out because I have a son that age. And I'm just like, that's not horror. That's not even gore. That's torture porn. That should not be out there in a fucking mainstream movie. It's such a piece of crap movie. It's so embarrassing. I'm still so enraged and upset by that. It's just, it's sickening. And I'm not just getting older and getting conservative, because I'm telling you to watch Kids, which has like potentially underage kids or borderline age kids engaging in sexual activity, which is not supposed to be okay either, but it's extremely relevant and period accurate for the film and the time that it's documenting. There's nothing about this fiction horseshit story sellout, just stealing shit from The Shining that can legitimize that. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, Spring Breakers is fun. Let's get back to me not ranting about things I've been thinking about. Warrant, Cherry Pie. That was so massive. God, the summer that blew up, Cherry Pie. It's one of those ones where it's like, everyone knows this is not okay. Like, Pour Some Sugar on Me. Everybody knows that's not okay. It's just gross. But like 11-year-olds are listening to it. Why are 11-year-olds listening to Cherry Pie? I mean, I'm more concerned about that than people saying the word fuck. Like, I don't need Tipper Gore to put PMRC stickers on records because they have the words, fuck, shit, cock, piss, motherfucker. I don't care about the 7 deadly words. I'm way more grossed out by little kids singing. And like, I'll give credit to, the best show, Sharpling and Worcester. They did some top 10 where they talked about the grossest, creepiest songs. And I think it was Gary U.S. Bonds or something, or Gary Puck. I can't remember. But there is like a famous 60s song that's like, really gross. And it's like a 36-year-old guy singing about a 16-year-old. Like, that whole list of that was a good bit. They have good bits. People know I don't like them. But Winger, yeah, the dude from Winger, the guitarist from Winger lived down the street from me. Yeah, he used to get a ton of shit. He bought a house on the South Shore when he made his Winger money. Yeah. I know what you mean. The Warren thing. Yeah, it's really fucked up. It's awesome. Vanilla Ice to the Extreme. Again, this is the stuff we remember. And then here's one that doesn't necessarily get remembered. And then The Razor's Edge by AC/DC. NXS's X kind of did okay. One weird thing I would say is that George Michael, because he got in such a fight with Sony, they tanked his album Listen Without Prejudice. And Freedom is one of my favorite songs of all time. Freedom 90, the George Michael song, where it's perfect. It's just a perfect dance pop gospel mid-tempo fucking jam. It's just a jam, man. It's good. It's so good. And there are other good songs on the album. Point is, he got in such a fight with Sony and he sued them and all this shit that they didn't really promote it. So the album absolutely tanked. And they only played the videos on like VH1 because they decided that you're over. You're too old now. Just 3 years out of faith. It's crazy, man. And so he has to go out and try and reinvent himself. And he's, you know, there's a period where he tries to do the Boy George thing and get kind of like porno stashed out and wear like pink fucking jackets and shit. It's pretty bad. Yeah, Freedom 90. Don't ever let that one die, man. Keep that song with you. But the one I was going to talk about was actually was the Rhythm of the Saints, Paul Simon's post Graceland album, which took, obviously, because it's Paul Simon album, it took fucking forever to come out. You know, and it's got this classic, this incredibly classic song that, you know, some reviewers, or at least one, VH1, I believe, was 88 or 89, but it was immediately obvious what it was and why it was. Like, there was no question we needed VH1 to play Annie Lennox solo album, to play George Michael's solo album. We needed that because MTV was always going to stay young. And then, interestingly, when reality TV took off with Bob and Murray's The Real World the next year in 91, MTV pivoted so hard to shit like Remote Control. Remote Control had been on for years, but they pivoted so hard to trying to create original content and become a television network and not a music television network that people like me, who were music fans, were predominantly watching VH1 because they were still showing videos. It's a very weird thing that happened. 91 to like 90. Before they came out with when TRL broke out, when Total Request Live blew up with all Carson Daly or whoever first hosted it, that's the end of the good 90s. Total Request Live is the beginning of the dark 90s or the bad 90s, which is what Sean Collins and I talked about ages ago in our podcast. It was a comic book writer. That's a friend of his who came up with that idea of the dark 90s or the bad 90s. And it's like, it's pretty much 97 to 2001 is just awful. 97 to 9/11 is a totally weird, different thing. The whole echo of Nirvana, of authenticity and everything is totally dead by 95. But yeah, it feels so different. The second half of the 90s feels like a totally different decade than the first half of the 90s. And you can say that maybe about the 80s too. Maybe you can say it about every decade. But for me, it's really vibrant because that was, you know, my youth. But all right, let's do the Hot 100. Again, these are the Joel Whitburn volumes of charts and stuff. Bossa Nova, I hate that fucking album. There are people who love Bossa Nova. I don't get it. There are people who love TrembleMan. I don't get it. I really like, there are songs on Bossa Nova that are still good. That opening instrumental got used in that white mumblecore movie, I think, Kicking and Screaming. But yeah, Pixies Bossa Nova was not for me. Slow. Javelina is beautiful, obviously. That's one of their strongest songs. But did they even play that? Did they ever play that live? Javelina was one of my favorites. That's a beautiful thing. That just sounds like the sun going down on a summer night like tonight, like when you're a kid and like, you know, you've stolen 3 beers and that's what you got, kind of a thing, man. Javelina's great. But like Valuria sucks. Oh, that song is so goddamn boring. And Dig for Fire, I mean, I liked it at the time. I had Dig for Fire on mixtapes because it's a Kim song. Like vocally, it's strongly hurt. And of course, it's loopy. It's their dance pop song, I guess, Dig for Fire. And it's a good chorus and whatever, but it goes on forever. All the songs on Bossa Nova that are any good are no, Bomback should be retroactively aborted. Yeah, no, we were saying that at the time because he's such a Whit Stillman clone. It was pathetic. Yeah, again, there are a couple of good cuts. I mean, it's Motorway to Roswell's on TrembleMan. That's a good one. Like, it's not like they didn't have any of the goods, but he had already started writing in the studio with Bossa Nova. That's the kiss of death. Second you're writing songs in the studio, your career's over. Ask Oasis. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Love that song. 90 in the Hot 100. Oh, God. This is not going to go fast, is it? Oh, God. Yeah, so number 1, which I had said in that Sean Collins 2-part podcast. Rhythm of the Saints. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Obvious Child. It's one of Paul Simon's best songs ever. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. You hear those 60s Simon and Garfunkel, you know, Mother and Child Reunion, all that. It calls back. It reifies. It's just like, you know, it's writing that one last song that still gives you sort of narrative continuity, linear continuity with this career, this, you know, legendary career Paul Simon's had. There's a break from that. He's broken from it, and the only attention he's gotten since the 70s has been Graceland, which, while it's a Paul Simon album, you know, obviously has massive ethnocentric issues of cultural appropriation. And that's not like cancel culture 2020 talking. That's 1986 Rolling Stone talking. People were not happy about this. He was boycotted because this is what apartheid's going on. There's a huge popular thing with musicians against boycotting apartheid. Everything is trying to boycott apartheid. Paul Simon goes and works with these musicians, and he takes a completely contrary stance. And yeah, the Los Lobos guy said that he stole like 3 full songs off them. He invited them to jam. They jammed, and then he stole like all the riffs. Used them on, I think they said part of Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes. One of the last 2 songs in the album was like 100% a Los Lobos composition in there, that's their contention. There's one awesome interview where those guys just totally let loose, and they're like, yeah, the fucking guy. It's awesome. Google it up. I don't know where it is, but yeah, I mean, that's a really important part of Graceland to me, more than the cultural appropriation questions, is like the fact that the guy is actually a notorious thief. And The Obvious Child he learned his lesson from how badly he got whacked on that on Graceland, and he went and shot the video with and fully credited the drum company who wrote the backing track that is The Obvious Child. So check out the video, you'll get the full context. It's like shot in a favela kind of thing. But yeah, it's just Paul Simon clocking world music and putting it out with him singing over it. But it works. It's always worked. Mother and Child Reunion. You think? I mean, we needed Paul Simon to hit us up with some fucking reggae. Do you think Paul Simon was the guy everyone was waiting to explain? Like, he's good at it. He's a good songwriter. He gets in and he gets the vibe. Peter Gabriel's also historically pretty great with this. These guys somehow have some Jungian kind of, you know, honest emotional connection with this music, and I think it rises above nude appropriation in a way that certainly more than Vampire Weekend does. So yeah, this is, goddamn, I don't know how there's 100 songs on every chart, and by the 90s they're starting to turn over more. It's not like the 80s where I can just skip, you know, week to week and it's the same top 10. It's really tough. Pump up the jam, pump it. Technotronic, Pump Up the Jam, number 4. We Didn't Start the Fire, number 9. You know, oh yeah, Back to Life. It was. So Back to Life is over here. I mean, it's already done its thing, probably in England, but Back to Life is there's some like hum going on. God damn it. Dude, I can't win with this. I don't know what it is. God, that sucks. Any better? There? Anything? Is there? Yeah? Okay. God damn, what is up with this? I don't know why this is such a bitch. I'm gonna have to get like an expensive Bluetooth one if I want to do any more of these. This has happened in like almost all the videos. Well, thanks for telling me. Yeah, it's just the separation. Like, this is the weird thing about doing this, and why the 90s is like sort of tough, is that I hated all this shit. I was getting into underground stuff. I was learning about like DC and New York hardcore and Boston, obviously hardcore, and trying to get to shows, but I was too young. You know, I'm going to turn 15. Got friends who are driving cars, going out. This is the thing. It's like you watch the Wonder Years. You think back on the linear part of any kid's life, and it's like mainstream music is like you don't have a choice because you're like a little kid. Then you get to the point where you're making choices and you're forming your identity around this music. And I talked about this heavily in the 89 one. And so when I stopped talking about Manchester and all this cool shit that was going on, talk about Madball, yeah, and their 8-year-old lead singer. Madball, this New York hardcore band, their lead singer was like 10. They were playing shows at New York hardcore venues like ABC No Rio and shit, and he was 10. The lead singer of Jerry's Kids was 13. 13, Braintree. Is this my world? So yeah, when I look at this, I'm just like, this shit sucks. Like, I don't want to talk about this because it sucks. It sucked when it happened. It's not even funny. The good stuff is confirming what is there. Personal Jesus in there, you know, soul to soul, back to life in there. Blame It on the Rain in there. But what sucks is what's in there is like, Oh Father, Madonna. What is that shit? I got away from you. I never thought I would. Jesus Christ. You know, Joe Cocker, When the Night Comes. It's not just that it's uncool, because the shit in the 80s is good. I still listen to it. If this shit was good, I'm old enough that empirically good music is something I'm going to pursue. See what I'm saying? It's not just that I was this certain age. It's that this stuff legitimately sucked. And Oasis has an argument that what was going on just flat out sucked. And it's hard to explain why. Because in the 80s, there was just tons of great shit and vibrancy and fun. Justify My Love is awesome. Somebody's fucking fronting on Justify My Love. Guys, I admitted that I paused a Madonna video a couple of times. Justify My Love. You don't need the video. That song, that is a jam for any teenage boy. There's another one where it's like, yeah, kids shouldn't be listening to that. That's just pure, like, literally audio ASMR sex. That song. Like, are you fucking kidding me? It's so inappropriate. Like, but it's fucking great. You can't. I mean, that's what the My Bloody Valentine thing I showed you. This will probably blow the audio up again. This is Sugar. It's the same boot. It's the same backbeat. My Bloody Valentine. Out in front on Madonna. This is the same loop with him, you know, dicking around over it. Good luck finding this EP. But yeah. Anyway, so I guess it's a very different tone, like Rod Stewart, Downtown Train. I'm not going to come in here and be like, oh shit, I forgot about this fucking jam, and pull out like a Bronski beat 12-inch and be like, this fucking song rule. It's not going to happen. When I go through the charts here, it's like, whatever. Young MC's Bust a Move. I actually have that 12-inch. I didn't pull it because it has an instrumental. 12 inches having instrumentals or acapellas. That beat, That'd Be Good to Me has the acapella on it. Right? Yep. Acapella. That was the thing, because you're wanting to appeal to DJ culture. You're wanting people to, you know, come up with new shit, new mixes, get people dancing. You give them the acapella track, they can go on their own and do it. This starts happening. This dialogue starts happening. And, you know, it's just a really cool thing that's kind of dead. I mean, people now are you know, going and using digital shit to pull back and try and pull it out and all that. Yeah, whatever. It's all going to become a giant fucking race to the bottom. B-52's Rome, if you want to. Never liked that song, but it was a big-ass hit. Here we go. Bam. This is the first appearance. So Lullaby, The Cure is on here. This is sort of The Cure's. They go into a valley, but they don't die. They still maintain this audience when they come back with Wish, but they waited too long and didn't have any songs for Wild Mood Swings, and that was the end of The Cure. But this is the debut of a song I think I talked about at the end of the last one, which is Michael Penn's No Myth. Sean Penn's brother gets an album out, and it's actually not bad. There's 3 really good songs on it. No Myth is an absolutely iconic one-hit wonder. It's a gorgeous song, really well produced, just beautiful. Like Elvis Costello kind of, you know, mid-'80s songwriting. The whole album is a big tie-in to like Shipbuilding and Blood and Chocolate era. Elvis Costello, like totally King of America. It's like, it's all over that shit. And there's a little Billy Bragg in there maybe, but Michael Penn's No Myth. You want to get yourself on that shit. It's really good. You know, Pump Up the Jam, boom. And again, it's like, How Am I Supposed to Live Without You by Michael Bolton. There you go. That pretty much qualifies it. Like, the mainstream charts are VH1. The mainstream charts are like inoffensive ballads. And it's just been going on for years and years and years. And there's all this pent up frustration, but it's not cracking through. We're living in this like sub-alt world of alternative rock and college rock and dance pop. And, you know, 91 it starts to blow the lid off it, but Nirvana happens. So I think EMF deserve credit for Unbelievable. Absolutely. It's a great fucking song. Some technical limitations, sonic and technical limitations for sure. But like, it was fresh as shit. Kids were freaking the fuck out playing Unbelievable loud in their cars. That song was on it. It was a big fucking youth hit in a youthquake kind of a way. It doesn't happen in America. Like almost never happens in America. And when it does, it's a huge deal. There's a million, EMF type bands in England trying to get on the charts. There's tons of that dance pop shit getting snapped up and signed by these fake indies that are just offices inside major labels, which is all that Food Records, Dave Balthi's, the guy who was in Teardrop Explodes, friends with Bill Drummond, Echo and the Bunnymen, blah, 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 Zoo Records founder. He started this label, Food Records, and he got Blur. Because it's a sample of Dice saying, what the fuck was that? But they edited it. So it just says, what? It's just the what looped if you listen closely. But if you know what the sample is, you hear what the fuck was that. And yeah, sampling Andrew Dice Clay is a great bid for posterity. That's how you want to make sure that your song is relevant for all time. Sample Dice, the Dice Man cometh. Now that said, I've said before in other places that The Day the Laughter Died is, to me, the greatest stand-up comedy performance of all time. It's a double album. He goes into Dangerfields at Christmas with no set. He has like 3 bits in the whole thing. If you've never heard it, apart from Doug Stanhope, The Day the Laughter Died is the rawest, unscripted, funniest shit ever. Really recommend you check it out. That's my entire routine on the Catfish. It's just so good. Janie's Got a Gun. I see. This is confusing to me because there's the 93 one. I think there's Pump and the one with the truck and the one with the cow udder, and they're all the same ballad. There's 5 different versions of the same song. It's Janie's Got a Gun is the rock song, but then it's like Cry, Angel, whatever the fuck. I don't know. They're all the same song over and over again, and it's just him pimping his daughter and putting his daughter in the video. Like, what the fuck, dude? Dude. It's not. I'm not for that. I'm very much not for that. And it's just, look at the shit that's charting. Eddie Money, Peace in Our Time, Cher, Just Like Jesse James. Like, what? Who was listening to this? Who was? Come on and get my love, it's for real. Kathy Dennis and D-Mob. This is, oh God, early Kathy Dennis, man. I went on an absolute crazy high energy binge. And mostly because this stuff is really easy to get on Discogs. So I'm not like getting somebody's rare stuff and being a vulture during COVID. I'd never had a big vinyl collection of all this stuff, but I absolutely like Lisa Stansfield, Kathy Dennis, like Janet, this period of like late, really polished Euro dancey, like high energy is basically over. But this period, those synth pads, those string pads that are common to all these 12 inches. Yeah, she does have the curly hair. Kathy Dennis. Oh my God. Pete Kathy Dennis. All of that shit. Don't you want me, don't you want me, don't, like all that. I was hearing this stuff like in dorm rooms at NYU and shit, like fucked up. And I wasn't going clubbing. I wasn't going to fucking Nassau and shit. Like I wasn't like one of those kids in kids. I didn't go out to clubs. I didn't know anybody. I wasn't doing class A drugs. But like that seemed cool. And you like wished you were cool enough and had access to like good, to do this shit, to go to raves, to go to fucking, go out in the field and get fucking crazy and, go to the club. And like, that was a reality. I'm a suburban fucking teenager. Like I couldn't do that shit. I was so desperate though, to like, so all that music, the Manchester shit, and then that late high energy dance pop stuff. God, it's so fucking good. I'm on a total like retro. So I've talked about this before. It's I call it the pre-Nirvana utopia. Okay. The pre-Nirvana utopia is 88 to 92. There's so much good shit going on and it's musical. It's not, there's all these different options. It's social and it's musical. You can go dip and dunk. You can be a goth. You can be a hardcore kid. You can go to a fucking rave. You can go, you can be a baggy kid. There's so many hats to try on. You can be a shoegaze kid. Fucking ice. What the fuck? Didn't I pull this out? Oh yeah, baby. You got peak Morrissey too. You got peak Morrissey. Like you got so many anorak kids dressing like Morrissey. Oh, Sing Your Life. Sing your life. Oh, And you got the Cocteau Twins, Heaven or Las Vegas, the Ice Blank Luck single. You got like, you know, My Bloody Valentine's huge. There's so much shit you can do. And then it just becomes grunge. It's all grunge. Nirvana or Pearl Jam. Democrat or Republican. It sucks, man. Anyway, so yeah, any fool can think of words that rhyme. Many others do. Why don't you? Do you want to? Oh. Yeah, this is a nasty one too. Me So Horny. I never liked that song. I honestly always thought it was gross on a racial basis, even though I live in a 99% white, community and grew up in one. Me So Horny is fucking gross, man. I don't know. I mean, it's a jam, but like, that's just, it sucks. I don't know. It's a really, really bad use of a sample from Full Metal Jacket. So, oh God, yeah, it was, Opposites Attract. Okay, so MC Scat Cat was actually a group, I didn't realize this because it's credited here, called The Wild Pair. But they were, I know there's no question they were going, well, no, it's that, I mean, yeah, it's better, but the key one is obviously, my mind's playing tricks on me. That is an eternal rap cut. And again, it's like, okay, so far I'm wrong. The chart is not turning over a lot. It looks the same here through February. I go to extremes, Billy Joel. But this is when the good song, the big good song, the last, as I said, one of the last real, like, linear glam rock and roll metal songs, Kickstart My Heart, Motley Crue. Perfect song. That song, the tempo, everything about that song is just fucking outrageous. And that's 1990 here. I mean, the rest of the record, the title track, Dr. Feelgood, fucking sucks. That is some corny ass fucking LA Sunset Strip rainbow bullshit. God damn, I hate Dr. Feelgood. Like, what was the other song I was talking about? That horrible cheesy song I talked about in the last one I did. Not Every Generation's Got Its Own Disease. Oh my God, there's another song kids are never gonna remember. Every generation got its own disease. I've got mine. You gotta fucking Google that. If you don't know this song, I don't know how you would. That shit is brutal as fuck. You gotta hear that fucking song. It's so good. Every generation's got its own disease. Look it up now. But no, the one I was talking about was Big Time Junior. That was the one I was talking about. No, Way Cool Junior. Way Cool Junior by Rat. So like Way Cool Junior by Rat and Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue. That's like the worst fucking LA shit ever. Those are the worst songs from this entire period. Nothing is more revolting to me than that. But Come On, Get My Love, man. That shit hit over here. That's the 18. Woo. Get my love over here. Janet Jackson, Escapade, man. That song, the beach video, I think, is Escapade. That song was monstrous. Yeah, no. Doctor and the TARDIS is pretty much it. What Time Is Love is huge on the club circuits here, no doubt. But yeah, it's not. You know what? Mick Houghton wrote a book recently about his life as a publicist, and he dealt really tightly with Bill Drummond and so the KLF, and he has some really kind of cool observations you're not going to get anywhere else, like about how they actually fucked everything up with this song Kylie Loves Jason, which was right before they put out What Time Is Love. And they basically almost ruined their career because they were being such idiots and going on Top of the Pops in like black inverted KKK outfits and like doing all this shit. Like they had really stretched it too far and too thin with these stupid concept joke songs where it's like, you know, putting Whitney Houston over another song. Like their mashup thing was really getting tedious. And then all of a sudden he called him up and he's like, Mick, you got to come hear this. And he goes to their basement and he puts on What Time Is Love. And he was just like, I don't know. I don't really hear it. And then he went home and he was like, that's going to be the biggest song in the history of the fucking universe. It's like, it's one of those weird things where I can totally see how you'd think that. Like the first time you hear it, you're like, not really much here, Bill. I'm not hearing it. What Time Is Love? I don't know. And then like, yeah, 3 a.m. in Toronto, everything just blows up and they somehow execute this pivot because everybody knew who they knew it was the KLF at least. They knew it was the same people who did the Time Lords and Doctor and the TARDIS with the stupid car bullshit. Everyone knew it was the same gimmicky people, yet they did it better than anyone else and earlier. and this pure bliss house, like sort of pre-trance concept. They just totally nailed it. So, you know, full credit to them. This is just some really grim stuff. Elton John, Sacrifice, Chicago. What kind of man would I be? There is not much to talk about, man. It hurts. It really... Bad English, Price of Love. I mean, no one... Who the fuck would ever listen to these songs again? This is what I'm saying. The mainstream music that was going on at this time is so bad, it's not remembered by anyone. It's purposeless, gormless, just blobs of nothing. It doesn't work. People will play fucking the Verve Pipe and fucking Better Than Ezra and Hootie and the Blowfish forever. People will play, you know, the Freshmen forever. That will always resonate. It'll always be, you know, kids in the late 90s in college, Dave Matthews Band. But none of this is ever going to get talked about again. It's so bad. It's so just worthless. D-Light was okay. I wasn't a big fan, and they were massive. I mean, if you don't know how big D-Light was, holy shit, man. They were bigger than the B-52s. Like that song, they were so top line famous for about 10 minutes. I mean, they were a 15 minutes of fame band, but that song was just absolutely enormous. And she was an immediate icon. I mean, you think about like Aqua and Barbie Girl and all this other crap that came later. And Groove Is in the Heart started all that shit. 100% started all that. She gets full credit. She was a club kid. I mean, she wasn't a club kid in the like, you know, Michael Alig, kill your drug dealer in a bathtub with Drano way. But she would, you know, DJ, what's his name? Jesus Christ, he's so famous. What's his name? DJ come on, just text him. I don't want to start Googling shit. I got to wrap this up. Toite. Yeah, Toite. He's fucking, you know, he's awesome DJ. And so was, you know, Money Mark. And there's all these, you know, culture people that are a little bit older. I guess my point is like they're older. They're like getting to be 30. They're not like teenage club kids like you see in the movie Kids, or like, you know, Alig was in the late 80s. Anyway, Biz Markie, Just a Friend, another important crossover, big breakthrough. But again, rap is still stuck in novelty mode. It's you know, Two Live Crew, Me So Horny. It's Just a Friend. Like only, you know, Fear of a Black Planet, Welcome to the Terror Dome. It really, like, a lot of it is down to the summer of, I think it was 88 or 89, I can't remember. But there's this big, like, and at the time, I'm using language from the time, there's this big Nubian consciousness thing that starts happening. Mama Said Knock You Out is a fucking jam. Oh my God, the fucking dropout in that. Oh my God. Fathers, I think I'm gonna bomb a town. Holy shit. Mama Said Knock You Out is like, not like LL Cool J wasn't already totally legit for being an early mid-80s rap guy, even though I think he and Ice-T had mad beef, but Mama Said Knock You Out is serious. That song fucking rips and kills at wills. The gun stuff in it is stupid. I mean, everybody had to have a fucking Cypress Hill. Everybody had a song about like pulling out my Glock and my heater goes boom. Just shut the fuck up. It's so dumb. But anyway, Mama Said Knock You Out is an absolute huge hit. It was played on MTV a lot. Jump Around is a total fucking cornball novelty song. You kidding me? I talked about that earlier because Corn Nemec was in the video and it had like These Irish Eyes, A Smile, and all the Boston meathead fucks that were listening to that when I was a kid. God, that song was fucking escapable in fucking Boston. You have no idea. Like, you think the Dropkick Murphys are a stereotypical Boston song? Jump Around was the template for fucking invoking, you know, raw, working class, rough white people in Boston fighting in the street, like fucking bullshit. I hate that fucking crap, man. I hate that it's still marketed to people to be this macho, fucking depadded, you know, Boston. It's just so stupid. It drives me nuts. I'm not saying there aren't people who are working class and struggling, but it's just so, this self-reinforcing loop of you know, attitude just doesn't need to be there. You have it all over England. It's tribalism. You know, obviously it's tribalism. God, I'm never going to get to... no, Jump Around is actually a fun song to listen to. I'm not going to deny. But yeah. Yeah, I already went through Black Velvet. Her album charted. That's why I went through the albums in the beginning. This is the singles chart, and it is on here. No Myth gets pretty high, too. It's actually chasing Nothing Compares to You up. And then Oh yeah, Jane Child, Don't Want to Fall in Love. Yep. So we got it all. There's like a takeover, and then here's my girl, Lisa Stansfield, All Around the World. I love all this stuff. But yeah, Black Velvet's number one. We're in March. Black Velvet was number one for 1, 2, knocked Janet Jackson's Escapade off the charts. She got 2 weeks. 2 weeks at number one for Atlanta Miles. Just to get a rep. Nice. That's a good cover for them to do. I mean, look, Gangstar was huge. They're from Boston. They moved to New York, but I love Gangstar. I love EPMD. These are like formative. This is when I was a kid learning about hip hop, like good hip hop. The first things I heard, is Eric B. and Rakim, EPMD, and we were just talking. Jesus Christ, a Gangstar, because you want to hear cool stuff. You don't want to hear MC Hammer. So this is that whole identity thing. Like if you want to be into rap, you can't go around wearing a fucking Vanilla Ice shirt when you're 15. Like it's the lamest. Well, you could now. But in 1990, so like you got to find good shit. Here's the problem with the Twin Peaks soundtrack, and I am going to be totally bombastic and say I am going to blow some fucking minds here. But the Twin Peaks soundtrack, that song, is an absolute fucking plagiarism by Angelo Badalamenti and David Lynch. The original song with the heavy bass that plucked Chris Isaac, boom, yeah, that song is it's a complete stolen song. I'm not going to tell you what song it's stolen, but it's stolen, 100% stolen. Okay, yeah, Motley Crue, Without You. I think that's their ballad from that record. Whatever. Phil Collins, Incredibly Dramatic, I Wish It Would Rain Down. Jane Child, number two, a month after Black Velvet. Jane Child, number 2, Don't Want to Fall in Love. But couldn't dislodge I'll Be Your Everything by Tommy Page. Without You kicks ass. It's incredibly stupid, probably. So then Nothing Compares to You is a number 1, I think, for the entire spring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. And it's dethroned by Madonna's Vogue. Strike a Pose. Now, this is a great song, but Madonna's late. She stole all this from Malcolm McLaren. Malcolm McLaren had a single called Vogue, essentially. It has another word in it. I can't remember. I have it. It's in the basement. Malcolm McLaren got on Vogue and Eurohouse and this whole thing before anybody. And he did a single with another group, and he credited them, and they're pictured on the sleeve. Go look it up. Keep in Vogue. And he had an album called Fans, too, around this time, which was totally bizarre. Deep in Vogue, right? Sorry. It's not great, but it sounds exactly like Madonna's Vogue. It's just not as good. It's not as good. Malcolm McLaren's not a great songwriter. He's an ideas guy. And so, yeah, go check that out, though, because she totally lifted all this shit from him. These ideas were flying around. This is the day, we were talking about supermodels coming up. This whole period in England is about to explode of the supermodel, heroin chic. Vogue is the early thing of like high fashion becoming chic and having some urban, it's a bad word these days, but some street level kind of chic and people, iconoclastic people coming through the doors and shaking things up. That is, you go back to, Keith Haring and the art world blowing up in the 80s, then, it goes up and, okay, Willie Ninja from Paris is Burning documentary did choreography on both of those projects. There you go. So thanks. Yeah, I mean, again, these are things you can look up. I know the sort of threads of them, but good. That gets you off something to read about if you're interested in it. But yeah, that was the thing of, again, because when I heard Vampire Weekend, I was like, well, this sounds like Duck Rock. I mean, again, it sounds like Punk It Up. It sounds like all the, the high life early shit that Malcolm McLaren was doing, which I still fucking love. I love the fact that he doesn't give a fuck about the cultural appropriation. It's like, fuck it. It's exciting. It's fun. I'm playing around with some shit. And those artists are participating, it's not like, whatever. I don't want to get into that shit, but it's, it's funny how, again, Madonna frosts someone else's cake. Luther Vandross. Oh, Babyface coming at you. Babyface was huge. Big name, man. Whip Appeal. I don't know if he had charted before that, but I'm not strongest on that. So this is an interesting one because it does chart. Peter Murphy's Cut You Up. So this album, Deep, by Peter Murphy, was a big crossover. He had been dying, man. Just dying after Bauhaus. He couldn't get shit together. I mean, he did like corny covers. What was that horrible cover he did? He did such a bad, like, dead industrial. Oh, Para Ubu, The Final Solution. He covered Para Ubu's Final Solution, and it was so corny and bad, although it did well for him. But he couldn't get arrested, and Julian Cope was basically fucking bigger than Peter Murphy at that point with the single, not the album. St. Julian, the album, the single World Shut Your Mouth, was like a big hit. And there was this big thing that, like, I think they toured together, and Julian Cope was like, he should be opening for me. This guy's nothing. But this album, Deep, it had this huge crossover, which is, of course, a ballad, Strange Kind of Love. It didn't chart, but it got passed around. Like, so this is the other thing. Mixtapes you made for girls or boys, vice versa. Mixtapes, young love mixtapes, puppy love mixtapes. That's how a lot of this shit gets around. The charts don't reflect any of that. And Peter Murphy's Strange Kind of Love is absolutely one of those tunes. But Cut You Up is the more up-tempo song. And it's just a perfect kind of, it's like an Echo and the Bunnymen song. It's an absolute, like, it could be on Here in Heaven or Ocean Rain. Cut You Up, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, Deep is not a strong album. Of course I had it. But I told an anecdote in a podcast with Maura. I used to tape, 120 minutes in all the MTV alternative video shows. And they would play Cut You Up so many times that I would just pause it because I already had it like 100 times. And then there would be periods where it would be like, you'd just hear the drum beat from Cut You Up all over and over again because I was like not recording it. It's a weird drum production. If you're into audio engineering or music production at all, the drums on Cut You Up are incredibly signature of their time. Definitely recommend checking that one out on a technical basis. If everyone hasn't seen the shirt, you got to make sure I'm wearing the original. Hot shit. So what else? Oh, and I talked at length about this album, and I don't need to talk anymore about it here. Don Henley's The End of the Innocents. A superb adult-oriented rock album. Just fucking great. Bruce Hornsby is all over it. I love this record. I love the song The Heart of the Matter. I love the title track. There's some obviously corny bad shit on there. But I've said before, I am endlessly amused by the fact that he's smoking a cigarette with a midlife crisis full-on ponytail on the cover. Of course, I should talk about midlife crises, but Heaven is a 4-letter word by Bad English. They had 2 chart hits in 1990. How does this happen? So then I told you about this earlier, and I showed it earlier, and I'll show it again. This charted in America. So this is not something where, like, I only heard this because I had a friend in England who came over here. This was big. This was legit big in the US. It was played on the radio. It made it up to Hot 100, and college radio played the shit out of this. And so I still have it. And I still love it. And it's just such a, it's so good. Anyway, I mean, is there anything weird that comes through? There's very little weird, like, I guess it's sort of weird that Faster Pussycat's House of Pain charted, but glam metal wasn't totally over. So the door was still open for Slaughter and all this crap, and Winger we talked about, and Extreme. That's just they were stuck in this loop of like, well, this is what kids like. And it's like, well, no, that's what they're seeing. So if you're in, and I'll tell you an anecdote that proves this, because it was this year. I went to a family reunion. Mr. Big, damn Yankees. Yep. I went to a family reunion in Indiana. And I was 15 and I was wearing all black, like a black sweater in Indiana, in like 100 and whatever degree weather, right? And hung out with my cousins and whatever. But the world that was promoted to them, like people say horrible shit like flyover states, whatever. The media has more control over what people see and think outside of wealthy enclaves like Boston, New York, DC, California. If you go out there, the perception of the world is completely different. And that's not because of how they were raised or lack of advantages, 100%. A lot of it has to do with the media. So when I went out there in 1990, everyone's listening to fucking Damn Yankees and Mr. Big and fairground shit. And like, they don't even have a way to get cool shit apart from like Sinead O'Connor and maybe The Cure. So anyway, it's a weird thing how you can see how that, being projected here, how Faster Pussycat charting automatically when like, a little bit further up that chart is the Humpty Dance, which again, it takes 2 novelty songs for Digital Underground to blow up, Do What You Like and The Humpty Dance. When like this is an absolutely crushing, legit crew, like an absolutely foundational hip hop crew, and they're gonna have a stupid gimmick and the fake nose just to get attention. I mean, it's just absolutely nuts. It's really a shame. Yeah, Shock G is a total fucking genius. I mean, it's not just, it's everybody. This is a big crew, and they don't get the respect or whatever that the EPMDs of the world do. I mean, obviously they do within the hip hop community, but people who are learning about hip hop, they're not necessarily going to understand that this band was sort of ghettoized by having to be a novelty band just to chart when they had so much talent and technique. That dude's flow is ridiculous, man. I mean, I still listen to these songs all the time. I still listen to Sex Packets, the album it's from. Do What You Like is a really fucking, I mean, if you're ever allowed to be at a party again, put on Do What You Like. Smell How You Like. Michael Bolton again. How Can We Be Lovers? I mean, it just don't stop. It don't stop. Enjoy the Silence is coming up the charts, like we talked about. Depeche Mode, Soul to Soul, really solid in the mid charts. The Soul to Soul singles, Get a Life, Back to Life, and Keep on Moving. I should show you the 7-inch earlier. Another one actually, which just died. It died because he was in an in-between position with his label. Basically, this song was put out to promote a tour, which is the Is Jealous of Youth. I've had this from day one, and this is, I don't know why, because he's been on the same label most of his career. I don't know why it's so hard to find this song. Maybe he doesn't like it, because it's obviously like a Prince ripoff. But I absolutely love this song, Jealous of Youth. It's just so great. And again, it's just, you think about all this stuff, 1990, like, I mean, dude, all these albums are coming out. 1990, The Chill, Submarine Bells, The Breeders, Pod, like, these are records that are absolutely still getting talked about today. Codeine, Frigid Stars, 1990, all this stuff is happening. And people still talk about this music. And I just, it's weird. It's weird. I've said it before. It's very weird that people, and so many people, are so interested in the music that I listened to when I was 15. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, before the debut, clearly, if you were in the know, where did I put it? I know I pulled that. Where is it? Damn it. No, that's not it. That's the Happy Mondays. I already showed you that. Hold on one sec. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah. The Charlatans debut. Well, if you're in the know, you already had the limited edition gatefold is blank of The Only One I Know. Yeah, but the cool thing about this is you got Imperial 109, which ended up on the album. Like the stoner head tracks on that album, on the debut on Some Friendly, like Then is probably my favorite song on that. Yeah. The Charlatans were a lot better than people give them credit for. They were little kids. They were like Hacienda fanboys, like going up to Peter Hook and Rob Gretton and being like, "Will you please sign us?" Or like he tells the story. His mom knew Tony Wilson's dad because he was a shopkeeper, and she knew that Tony Wilson was on TV and ran the Hacienda or something. So she like took his tape to Tony Wilson's dad or something. And I mean, it's cute. That should happen to a teenage kid, and it's in a town like Manchester, a city like Manchester, which has this incredible music culture. A little kid should be able to form the Charlatans and get a shot. That's fucking awesome. I think it's cool as hell. And they, they did a lot of good shit. They did a lot of great records. I mean, I don't necessarily like all of it. I think obviously they died in America between 10th and 11th, and Weirdo just killed them. They were dead because Nirvana had happened. So there were a lot of other things besides Harry Metal that got killed by it. I love Goo. Goo's probably my favorite Sonic Youth record. Yeah, I mean, it's better than Daydream Nation. Come at me. Yeah, Ritual Dale Habitual was this year. Jane's Addiction were just massive. They didn't have any, like, Nothing Shocking was big as an alternative record, as an alternative college rock record. Of course, Nothing Shocking was massive. But Ritual had the hit, Been Caught Stealing, with its baggy Fool's Gold beat, right? Because everything's got to have that beat at this point. And I mean, eventually it gets to the point where we get, it's over when Suggs shows up. When Suggs shows up, your whole thing is washed, and that's what happened with The Farm. Like I like All Together Now, which is Paco Bell's canon as a dance pop song. We talked about that a million times, but this is 91. yeah, the Farm is Spartacus was just huge. Groovy Train was so big in America. I'm not going to front and say that they sucked or something. Those are good songs, and obviously we get into Fatboy Slim and Beautiful South and all these other. You can talk about a million things with Farm as being the apex. Yeah, Nights Are Ebb Showtime, the best industrial record of all time. Yep, it's like Ministry. I would say Mine Is a Terrible Thing to Taste. Nights Are Ebb Showtime. Lightning Man. I mean, come on, Lightning Man is just. Oh my God, that single! I talked about this, I think, in another video already. I went at length about Nights Are Ebb Showtime and how much I wanted to look like that guy, bizarrely. Getting Closer, Jesus Christ, God damn! Get Nights Are Ebb Showtime. Just go play it on Spotify. It's so good. Wilson Phillips, Hold On. That was a tyranny of the summer, and you got to remember. I talked at length about the tragedy of us losing, I forget her name, I'm sorry, from Roxette. She had been battling breast cancer, I think, for a long time. This is the year of Pretty Woman. The Pretty Woman soundtrack was like the soundtrack. That thing sold fucking truckloads. And it must have been Love by Roxette was the big ballad. And it just, that album, that soundtrack sold trucks. Adamski's Killer, yeah. Well, Snaps the Power is on here. We're into the summer, and where is it? Anyway, Snaps the Power comes up. Now, why is Snaps the Power important? It's a good song. It's getting kind of hectic. It is a good song, but it's also immediately kind of stupid, sort of like CNC Music Factory's, Gonna Make You Sweat, which is actually a rewrite of another house high energy hit that had already happened, which I'm blanking on. But basically, CNC Music Factory, or there was an argument about that backing track or something. I don't know. I talked about the look for like 7 hours on the 1987 Chartsweep, I think, or 88 Marco. So yeah, if you want to hear me go off about how good the look is, you got to go back to an older video. So anyway, the Snaps the Power. Is really typical of this sound at this time, is the big house crashing post high energy stuff is building up. And the interesting thing about Snaps the Power, and I may be wrong, someone's gonna have to Google test me on this, it was the #1 song on the Village Voice Paz and Drop poll. Snaps the Power. I believe Robert Christgau wrote the blurb, and it was the #1 song on the Paz and Drop poll. Not Nothing Compares to You. Not any of these other songs I've been talking about. And it's a ripoff of a hip house song. Yeah, they're both, a lot of this stuff is like that. Pump Up the Jam, it was already a hit at the beginning of 90. There's so much like lifting and production, like theft going on. But yeah. Rub You the Right Way, Johnny Gill. How can we be lovers if we can't be friends? Michael Bolt. Oh my God. Jane Child had two chart spots to herself. She was both number 59 and number 60 with Don't Want to Fall in Love and Welcome to the Real World. Nights Are Ebb Showtime isn't on Spotify. Oh, fuck it. The world's over. I mean, the world's over anyway, but if that's not on Spotify, I'm good. I'm going in the bunker. I'm good. I just don't see the point. Okay. I don't know where Snaps the Power showed up in if it was someone's individual list. Thanks for pulling it up. Actually, the Paz and Drop. I guess it was Groove Is in the Heart, which makes more sense as they were New York club kids. Somewhere Snaps the Power got like outsized playback in like, I thought maybe it was Time Out. I don't know. I thought it was Paz and Drop. So I guess I'm wrong. Been wrong lots of times, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. Faith No More's epic. Oh my God. I listen to that a lot now. I hated them at the time. I went on it earlier in one of the chart sweeps for the 80s. They just had a really kind of obnoxious. They had this. They weren't. I mean, obviously they were smart guys, and they were playing a kind of a game, and they were goofing on and coming out of, and also making fun of the Chili Peppers, this whole scene. But the way it ended up getting promoted and marketed, and the way it was brought down to kids in the suburbs where I was living, Faith No More was like massive jock music. It was jock metal, which is, I mean, he knows it, and it really pissed him off, and they did things to counter that. And Patton, that's why they did Easy, the Easy cover, and they did these things to try and make fun of, the same way Nirvana did, to their credit. to try and blow back on the fact that like they're getting this like jock metal, you know, masculine boy kind of following. And Bill and Ted rock. That's a good way to put it. I'll take that. But I listen back to Epic now. I've said before, I listen to Midlife Crisis, and just that whole album, Angel Dust, is so incredible. The production is just fucking ridiculous. It's so original. The songwriting on that album, it's just really good. Yeah, they were, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you actually paid attention to what they were doing, they were a completely self-directed, indulgent, hilarious band. I don't know, thanks. I've given Mr. Bungle more than enough tries. Anyway, so yeah, then we're in here. Oh, Taylor Dane, I'll Be Your Salter. That was a good one. Richard Marx, Children of the Night. Oh my God. And then, we get the resurgence, bizarrely, in two ways bizarre, of Billy Idol with Cradle of Love. Cradle of Love was pretty gross. It's a pretty gross video. It's literally just late teens, early 20s girl writhing around on a bed with a TV screen playing Billy Idol going, because he had broken his leg in like a million places and almost died. But the weirdest thing about this is we were talking about Dice Clay earlier. It's from the soundtrack to the Andrew Dice Clay movie, Ford Fairlane, which is actually not a bad movie. I think it's hilarious. It's a classic. You wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. USA Up All Night. So the USA Network used to play like kind of raunchy, soft core movies. And there's a very famous one called Ski School. Dean, goddamn, what's his name? The guy who's a human eyebrow. It is one of the most important, I swear to God. Like, if you think about Hot Tub Time Machine, Hot Tub Time Machine is basically a cover of a real movie called Ski School, it's so amazing. It's literally about like a guy who's like, he's probably like 36 when they made this, but he's supposed to be like the ski resort's bum, the ski bum who parties all the time. And like the South Park skit with Stan Darsh and all that, all of these are Ski School. It's such a good movie. It's been parodied so many times. And people used to talk about other kinds of movies like Hollywood Nights and stuff. Like none of them really I thought were any good. The best to me, like of this USA Up All Night shit movie period, nothing can touch Ski School. So Ski School and Ford Fairlane, man, like those are hardcore good trash from this period. They're the great trash culture of my youth. You got to find them. Ski School parody is a genre now, right? But this movie is from this time. I mean, I don't think it's much later than this. But yeah, the Cradle of Love video. Yeah, exactly. That's a, to quote one of the guys from 8 out of 10 cats, that is a challenging wank. Because you're cutting to Billy Idol every time and he's like haggard. And as famously everybody I think knows, Billy Idol was supposed to be the Terminator in T2. He was supposed to be the T-1000, but he fell off his bike drunk after a recording session and almost died. And I've got his memoir. He talks about it in his memoir. He actually saw like red people, outlines of people in red coming to him to like tell him he was going to die and it was going to be okay. And that they were going to take him with him. And then he wakes up like mental, really weird shit. Jealous again, the Black Crowes. The Black Crowes were a great fucking rock band. They were the last hope. I think, it's unfortunate that the marketing on them was so overdone with the Southern rock shit and they just didn't have any control over it because the guitarist is like this super fucking smart guy. They're totally worldly. They're not fucking like shit kicking, whatever, but they got marketed that way because they wanted to get the Midwest and the South. And so, Jealous again is my favorite, but that wasn't the big hit, but it was... that they were really, really big. So my point is that it worked. It's unfortunate they couldn't have been marketed more honestly, more in line with who they were. It's just the way it went. And so they really pushed back on that because when they got big at all off this first album, when they did the Southern Harmony Musical Companion, they did it their way. So then it's like true deep South, like, all the look and everything and the feel of it and the songwriting. She talks to angels and all the great Remedy, all the great songs on Southern Harmony and Musical Companion. You're talking about doing it right and paying homage in the right way instead of being marketed as like a pseudo Georgia Satellites kind of way they were on this first record. It sucked. And they were pissed, and they just unfortunately had to wait until they had the power to say fuck this and do it their way. What else have we got? Wow, we've been going for a while. Belle Biv DeVoe cranking it in the summer. Poison, we talked about it earlier. Cradle of Love was so goddamn omnipresent on MTV. I'm remembering it was so bad. God, it was just unending. Is there anything I didn't show the polls? I think I showed everything. So you can go back and watch it again. You can see all the polls I showed. But yeah, wow. LA Guns, The Ballad of Jane. Stevie B, Love and Emotion. That's a good one. That was a big, big hit. Oh, there's a weird one. This hung around forever. The U Crew's Let Me Be Your Lover. Go check that out. That shit hung around. Like, that charts low for almost a whole year. It's nuts. The U Crew with a K. Yeah, Stevie B. Stevie B gets you. Oh, gets you right there. What do we have? Belle Biv DeVoe's second single, Do Me. And the 49ers. Oh my God, that's right. The 49ers, Don't You Love Me. I was talking about all this other shit. The 49ers, Do You Love Me was big, big. And for that to crack through in the US at all was a big deal. And that was part of building this whole new thing. But anyway, go check it out. You can do some reading on your own. I've kind of gone down as many rabbit holes. I probably shouldn't. It's getting up for an hour and a half, which is where I try to kill this. Because I got to clean all this shit up being outside. What was another? Maxi Priest, Close to You. Wow, that was big. Maxi Priest was a sexy boy. He was so heavily marketed and good looking. And I don't necessarily think had the music to back all that up in my view, but like he was big. Yeah, I talked about the Sundays. Why are you going to come out to find? One of the first things I talked about was the Sundays. Are you kidding me? They were supposed to be another Smiths, but with a girl singer, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I love Hideous Towns. Hideous Towns is good. Can't Be Sure is okay. It's a big, I think it's a big, Can't Be Sure is like this big, England flag ballad. It's like a terrorist ballad in a way, right? But the reality is they were absolutely shit on by everyone in the English underground. They were like the standard. This is what you shot at. Primal Scream had an interview where they were like, look, we think British music is really important and in a great place, but if all we can come up with is the Sundays, we're fucked. Like, they hated this band. This band was trashed by everyone because they were rich kids. They were university students, and it was just a fucking joke. Because they weren't even that good. They are performatively English. Like, weren't they from Bristol? Like, I don't even know. But it's just Alan Moulder even engineered part of this, by the way. It's just one of those things where it was like, okay, she's really cute. Here we go. And she can sing, yeah. But unfortunately, the reality is when you get pushed like that and marketed like that, they were fighting it bad. I mean, it's why she wore the big sweaters. It's why she dressed like kind of, a little bit, moffish, I don't know. She certainly didn't doll herself up or try and be sexually extroverted in her image because she considered that beneath her. Full respect to that. But every fucking magazine cover, what is it? It's her. And the band's like, back here, like waving. And it's just this big shot of her and her pouty lips. Because the market controls it. The band doesn't control it. And they didn't want to bite on that. They didn't want to participate in that. Look at Toni Halliday. I've talked about her a million times in the Shoegaze video. She's writhing around in a lake in leather with a lot of lipstick on. Tony was kind of up for that stuff, which is cool. That's also cool. Go ahead and do it. It's your image. It's your body. It's your look. You do whatever you want to do. But it was an unfortunate thing because the Sundays got that pressure put on them by the media. They didn't want it. It was demeaning. It was, but personally to me, if you blow away how much money was invested in breaking that band, the fact that they're one of the big DGC signings, you got to remember, DGC signs Sonic Youth, DGC signs the Sundays for America, DGC is the one that breaks Nirvana. They're coming after this whole market heavy. And so the funny thing to me when I look back on reading, writing, and arithmetic is that they're not very good. The drummer's fucking terrible. They're not a good band yet. I mean, I can't imagine the pain they went through in the studio trying to get good takes on this shit. It's really bad. Listen to Hideous Towns. It's like all over the fucking place. It's a beautiful song, beautiful melody. But it's just fucking, junior varsity Smiths. It's like 12-year-olds playing the Smiths. No finesse, completely fucking basic production. Thoughts on Sarah Records? Go get this, read it. You can figure it out. Sarah Records is just, that's what, I mean, whatever the definition of shoegazing is, navel gazing. Sarah Records is just, to me, it's one too far for me. All that stuff sucks. It sucks. None of it's enduring. None of it's any good. It's all the fucking image. It's all the twee bullshit. Isn't it great that we don't give a shit about the mainstream and we do it all ourselves and we all go to each other's shows and we're all friends? Who can afford to do that? Rich people. Great. What a legacy. It's all college kids dicking around. I have no time for Sarah Records, frankly. I don't like any of it. I think there's like 3 good singles. It's just not good. The Field Mice is probably the best thing they hit on, and they weren't interested in really sticking with them all the way. Field Mice to me is the second coming of Section 25. Fucking love the Field Mice. So good. So much better than all that fucking, Comet, fucking, all that fucking jangle bullshit. God damn. They talk about performative Britishness. Like, there you go. Performative authenticity, performative lack of ambition, performative, oh, no, we don't really mean it, performative sensitivity. I don't get with any of it. It's just not with me. Heavenly were okay, yeah. But again, by the time they had anything on the ball, songwriting-wise, it was over. Don't go away mad, just go away. There's another honky and, bar burning biker Motley Crue song. Don't go away mad, just go away. Brutal. Emperor's New Clothes, another great fucking Sinead track. So one of the important things about Nothing Compares about I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got is that it doesn't totally stylistically break from Lion in the Cobra. So she's had 2 legit big alt hits off of Lion in the Cobra. Mandinka was massive, and then God, I'm blanking. But anyway, it's big like the type music. It's like Matt Johnson crashing hardcore fucking synth drums, like, and like for her to come out with Black Boys on Mopeds and these a cappella songs, and the most important song obviously was the one that for me was I Am Stretched on Your Grave, where she takes the funky drummer and does this classic Irish ballad, and then it ends with the most powerful finale of, like, I don't even know of any pop song. It's so fucking good. And so Emperor's New Clothes is important because it bridges the sound she had on Lion in the Cobra, keeps it, and it updates it. It had a really cute video where she's wearing like a medieval dress and dancing. It was a really well done video. It was cute. It's sort of in the vein of those Annie Lennox videos around her solo album. We're in August. Go West, The King of Wishful Thinking, the other big single from the Pretty Woman soundtrack. That's how America got that one. King of Wishful Thinking, one of my wife's favorite songs. It hurts me a lot to hear it. Go West, it's really hard to get something cheesier than Go West. Nothing sound like I talked about how that Belinda Carlisle song, I Get Weak, is so instructive and so defining of horrible mid and late 80s VH1 MTV ballads. King of Wishful Thinking is like a level of inanity above that. I mean, it's like, it is such fucking wallpaper. Like, it should be on the American Psycho soundtrack. It's one of those like ridiculous gloss horse shit studio, craft whatever. Ugh. What else do we got? Keith Sweat, gonna make you sweat. That's right, Keith Sweat. There's a lot of that. So the R&B stuff, we had already talked about this. Those R&B things are coming up, and they have to be ballads and they have to be sexual. Again, totally ghettoizing the content of black music that will chart and perform. It's novelty songs. They can't be scary. They can't be offensive. They can't be, only, NWA got away with it, but we got it. You know what I mean? This is the moral majority crap. Still, it's still there in the 90s, 100%. You got to be a smooth R&B singer. You got to be a ballad. You got to write love songs. It can be sexual. It can be a little kinky, but like it's so dictated by like awful white corporate thinking. It sucks. And it's just Bobby Brown and Glenn Medeiros, she ain't worth it. Have you seen her? MC Hammer. You know what I mean? It was so like snaps the power. The fact that in the video, the guy's at a podium, like, yelling, even that image was considered sort of controversial. I'm not fucking kidding. Like, that's how bad it was. I don't know. And it's just, when you think about where we are now, it's just like, I can't even, it seems so stupid for somebody in my position to get like upset. I'm not upset on behalf of anyone. I don't do that. It's not my place, but like, it's more like what I've witnessed in my life growing up with the LA riots and Rodney King when I was a kid. It's just like it's like I'm in a fucking time machine. I don't know. It's weird. And the fact that everyone wants to talk about the music I listened to at the time is also weird. And they don't. But interestingly, so I forget the movie it's in, but it's Ghost, right? Isn't Ghost this year? Unchained Melody, which I talked about earlier. So weird how many callbacks are coming up at the end. This is perfect. Unchained Melody is charting at the same time as Nothing Compares to You. Isn't that funny? I was just making that comparison. I didn't even fucking realize that had come back up. It must be Ghost. God, how was that movie big? That's how Sways, man, the Sways. Anything the Sways touched just turned to gold. Sways was just unstoppable. Totally a machine. Before Tom Cruise, Sways. You talk about party animals, dudes who drove it into the ground, kamikaze style. Sways fucking drank and smoked himself right into the fucking ground. Weird for me to say Sways, like that's something to be admire. But I'm all about, wild men, people who got that problem. Because I've sort of conquered that problem, and I'm lucky. Some people don't, but like that whole complex of drugs and alcohol and insecurity and male, all that fucked up baggage and shit, I don't know. I got a lot of empathy for people who, maybe are overwhelmed by having what they maybe perceive to be so much emotional, getting over. It's hard to explain. Anyway, it's why Kurt Cobain's a myth. It's all that bullshit, But Kurt Cobain's an easy one. People like Sways, a little more nuanced, And who was the other one I was talking about the other day? Eddie Rabbit, dead at 57. Like fucking just mental. Just never surrender. Knockin' Boots, the Candyman. That's another one of these. So I told you the sexualization. You got Push It earlier by Salt and Pepper. You got these sexualized songs. And you get Knockin' Boots by Candyman. I mean, we're not at like Pony yet. We're not at like like really bad fucking club slow jam grind jams, but like it's pretty good. Jerk Out by The Time. That was, I think, their last big hit. That was a good one. Shot down in a blaze of glory. John Bon Jovi. This is a solo song. He fucked the band on the Young Guns 2 soundtrack. You needed a second Young Guns. There was a lot left to explore that they didn't cover in the original Young Guns. They maybe could have got a third out of it. Holy crap, man. This is the hangover of the Brat Pack stuff when they're still making Flatliners and Young Guns. And they eventually, what's the fucking mob movie they make with Christian Slater and Patrick Dempsey? What is it? It's so bad. It's one of the worst movies ever made. Patrick Dempsey, I think, plays like Meyer Lansky or so. It's fucking unbelievable how bad it is. Look it up. I think it's Slater and Dempsey, and Richard Grieco is in it. He has to be in it because Richard Grieco is in fucking everything from 1989 to 1993. Mobsters, go, dude, for real. Fucking Mobsters. Honest to God, I'm not. So if you break it down, to try to watch this movie technically, I believe Mobsters was shot with different casts present at different times. Like there's periods where they're filming and like it's Richard Grieco and Patrick Dempsey that month and they don't film anything. And then they go back and they film with Christian Slater and someone else, probably because Christian Slater is filming like, what's that movie? Dark Rain or some shit where it's a boat movie. It's literally like a Night Boat, the Simpsons sketch. It's an action movie about a boat. Like there's a hurricane or a flood and Christian Slater has to save everybody in a power boat. It's called like Hard Rain or Dark Rain or some shit. It is maybe the worst action movie ever fucking made. Like it's the bottom of the Die Hard barrel. It's even at the time when the trailer for this movie Hard Rain came out, you just started laughing your fucking ass off. You couldn't stop laughing. It was so fucking dumb. I mean, and Christian Slater is not a leading man. You know, yeah, True Romance, pump up the volume, but like not a real movie leading man. He's a teen movie Brat Pack leading man. But like, yeah, Mobsters is one where it's like everybody in that movie bit off way more than they could chew. It's appalling. God damn. Oh, boy. Okay, so Billy Idol, yeah, L.A. Woman. He covered L.A. Woman because he was going to be in the Doors movie. Yeah, forgot about that. That's the second half of his 1990 explosion. It was this shit cover of L.A. Woman. Fucking sucks. Paul Young, Oh Girl. Fuck, dude, that is so bad. Just the worst shit. And then the Human League tried to come back with Heart Like a Wheel. That is some grim stuff. I forgot about that. I literally forgot about it. And I mean, I have like all the original 80s Human League vinyl because I love them so much. But that record he tried to do in 90 was some really bad stuff. Tony feels good. Tony was big. That was another one. But yeah, Say a Prayer, Breathe. That right there. I talk about that one all the time. Like, Breathe is just the worst, most despicably milquetoast thing ever. Tonight I share your sweet caress. Oh, fuck. After 7, Can't Stop. Go check that one out. That's still got legs, I bet. Prince, Thieves in the Temple was 90. Yep, and that's still when Prince could basically, take a shit on vinyl and it would chart. Maxi Priest, yep, he hits number 1 in the fall with Close to You. God, that song was everywhere. But then Soho's Hippie Chick, which is another one that's still got full legs. Hippie Chick is so good. Yeah, Slater's totally mid. Beta Male. Thieves in the Temple's not bad. It's weird. I think it's weird that it charted, but it's a good rip. God damn, yeah, Hippie Chick is such a good song. There's nothing really to it, but it's good. And that's one you want to go back to. Policy of Truth also. We talk about Enjoy the Silence and Personal Jesus because they've lasted longer. Policy of Truth was a massive hit, but it doesn't really do that well. If you listen to it, it's just like, and it's just like after you've heard that lick once, you're like, this isn't good enough to go 4.5 minutes. It's just not. And I mean, a minute into Policy of Truth, you're like, I've heard this. It's just boring. It doesn't work. To me, it's almost the worst song in the album. And then, yeah, the really brutal thing that happened, and I don't know why he did it, and oh my God, I got such a gift to close with, but I don't know why MC Hammer did Pray. It's really strange. You think about this being a cynical way to appeal to Christian moral majority. I don't know. It's very weird. It's a very overt. It was a massive problem. Not problem. It was a massive contrast with the explosion of gangster rap. As they called it. I think it's unfortunate looking back, and I guess even at the time, that you get voices like Public Enemy, Ice Cube, NWA, when voices like this cross over the mainstream and this expression of, particularly obviously in Chuck D and Public Enemy's case, this real literate, rage, frustration, calling out hypocrisy, etc. This gets started. These, unfortunately, there's racism against it crossing over, preventing them. They're called militant. They immediately go for the anti-Semitism with Terminator X, and he gets canceled. I mean, the first person I remember getting canceled is Vanessa Williams, I think, the Playboy spread. She was Miss USA, and they took her crown away because she posted Playboy, or they found old nude pictures of her and put them in Penthouse. Sorry, not Playboy. I think it's Vanessa Williams is her name or something. She was Miss USA, and they took her crown away. She's the first person I remember getting canceled. But one of the other big ones I remember was Terminator X. Oh, no, Professor Griff. It was Professor Griff, excuse me. Yeah, he's the guy who said, oh, then I should really correct that. Excuse me. Not Terminator X. Professor Griff said, he was he a 5% or whatever that whole shit is, Farrakhan or something. He got quoted kind of espousing belief in that whole thing that is a very ugly, weird, blurry thing that essentially easily gets thrown into anti-Semitism. So he was totally canceled. And to save their careers, the rest of Public Enemy had to publicly hold a press conference saying that he is not in the band anymore, guys. He's totally out of the band. We are 100% disagreement with what he expressed or whatever. I think it was pretty bad. It wasn't ambiguous. But the people that he was originally saying, promoting and aligning with, the history of radical, self-empowering Black political figures had started out sort of okay. And then he got canceled the fuck out, and Public Enemy had to just totally toss him aside. So it's weird that MC Hammer, it's cynical to me. It just feels like he's looking for the other side of that bet. Like, you got to bet on that Black culture is going to be more hardcore and darker. You got to bet on that's what's going to hit. What's the other side of that bet? An artist that has completely face on billboards for Christianity and prayer or baptism, whatever religion he may have, but Pray is grotesquely the other side of that pole. And it was so evident at that. Yeah, Protocols, the Elders of Zion, stuff like that. Yeah, that grift. Yeah, that thing comes up all the fucking time. I mean, Henry Ford printed it. It's just the fucking worst. Again, talk about a time machine. But yeah, the thing I get to finish on here, well, it's early to finish because Love Song was last year, but one of these singles is crucially huge because it really did well. Concrete Blonde's Joey. Now, this video predicted the entire Anton Corbijn, Twin Peaks, midlife crisis video, all those dark blues, golds, and reds, and all that shit. REM, Losing My Religion. Concrete Blonde's Joey video is a really early example of that kind of cinematic treatment, and a song that was totally reified the whole West Coast. The West Coast of X, of early 80s, even the Paisley Underground, the Rain Parade and the Bangles, and this Joey song, even look at the Minutemen, the whole West Coast thing. And this ballad Joey is like this requiem for, like a down and out guy with tattoos and the whole biker shit. Cause there was a big retro biker thing in LA. Obviously, Billy Idol is one of those guys. Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols is out there at that time on K-Rock, and he's still trying to reboot himself. He turns into a huge, hardcore old biker guy. All these guys, Johnny Depp, Keanu Reeves, they all get into bikes. This is the time of that in the early 90s. That's when this starts, and it's these early guys. And there's also the car thing with the Dukes, the Amboy Dukes and stuff. But the bike thing is really big and legit, and Billy Idol's right in with that crew. And it becomes this thing. And Joey is a perfect ballad that hits around the same time that's all exploding. And, at some point we get to River Phoenix and all that shit. And there's just something about the thread of that whole period of new, young Hollywood, James Dean wannabe, fucked up behavior and excess. And, yeah, it's just a really real, raw, weird time because death is something that doesn't get mediated. You don't get to mediate someone dying except by coming up with bullshit conspiracy theories like the way all these fucking losers do about Kurt Cobain. Suicides and deaths, young deaths, are not mediated. They're real, they're felt, they're dramatic, and they have emotional damage. They have a blast radius. In a way that nothing else you can do performatively does. And that time, there's a lot of that there. Dog Star. Yeah, he played bass in a band. That's right. Yeah, that was funny. That was in the mid '90s. It's also I remember for some reason I'm associating that with some other bullshit record. But anyway, Concrete Blonde's Joey and the parent album Bloodletting. I think it's a fair guess. There is more than likely a Leonard Cohen cover on it because all their songs are Leonard Cohen songs. But there's that, and there's another kind of mid-tempo sort of, I think this is when Iggy Pop is doing Home and Candy with Kate Pearson from B-52s. This is a whole kind of vibe, and it's the pre-Nirvana vibe, and it's what the rock bands of the past are trying to do. Because Concrete Blonde was part of that whole weird Paisley Underground, like Opal, before they become Mazzy Star, and start dating fucking Jesus and Mary Chain. That went over well. Anyway, P. I am associating it with P. That's right. You're funny. That's funny you got that. Yeah, P and Dog Star, those were both at the same time. Johnny Depp and Keanu Reeves bullshit stuff. I think it was Johnny Depp. I don't remember. Anyway, you were asking. Sorry, I should wrap up. I'm trying to hold on. I'm looking something up. I can't remember it. I'm sorry. I just totally blanked. I'm trying to remember the Twin Peaks, the song that Twin Peaks. I just listened to it in the car like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that Iggy Pop album isn't bad with Homeboy. Homeboy's not a bad rock song. It's okay. It's right in the middle. Everybody needs a home. Candy's good too. That's probably one of his best vocal performances of his career, Candy. But yeah, I was just listening to it in the car, and it's God damn it. I can't remember it. And I'm not on social media, so there's no way for me to tell you. So anyway, it'll be, I will do 91, I guess. The big breakthrough late 91 is Black or White and Nirvana, the Michael Jackson dethroning. I'll at the beginning of 91, I'll figure out what the track is that the theme from Twin Peaks is an absolute fucking ridiculous rewrite of. Yeah, you'll know. I'll do 91 soon enough. It's going to drive me nuts all day. Anyway, all right, I'm going to shut it down, but you'll know. Yeah, I'll get it. And, well, anyway, how did 90 end up? Stevie B, Because I Love You. Because I love you. Stevie B, man, powerful stuff. I mean, this was his year big time. The Postman song was absolutely saturated the shit out of FM radio. That was a great love song. Every kid that went on a date was throwing that shit around. And then Poison's like a legit okay good song. Something to Believe In. That's not a bad song. And Groove in the Heart. Grooves in the Heart. Grooves in the Heart gets the number, and Justify My Love are both at the same time. This is all at the same time. I remember these all together. Tom's Diner, Justify My Love, Grooves in the Heart, George Michael Freedom, and Stevie B. It's like all at the same time. That winter, they become really oversaturated. I'll always associate Justify My Love with like a massive snowstorm we got in 1990 and missing like 3 days of school. And listening to like Justify My Love, Violator, and a bunch of other stuff and playing Nintendo like nonstop for 3 days. I played Defender of the Crown, Faxanadu, this weird like Zelda clone. And what was the other game I played all the time? There were like 3 games I was playing nonstop during that snowstorm trying to beat them. It can't be Rygar. Rygar was one of the first Nintendo games I ever got. Well, I didn't get it. My friend did it. We used to play like RBI baseball every day at his house after school. But yeah, I just remember I really associate it with this period. That one snowstorm is so weird. Anyway, all right. So yeah, we'll do FX Energy is actually awesome. If you grind on that game, you can buy a sword that makes you invincible. So I just grinded for like 4 hours and then just like won the game and like just you give one hit everybody. It's really funny. Yeah, so you know, fun to be back. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out. You know, shots fired on the theme from Twin Peaks. I will have to back that up on the next video. See you guys. Oh wait, I gotta go out full. Full on. Time to rave. What's up? Bez is the man.